Imagine for a moment that everything you believed about faith, prayer, and spirituality was incomplete. What if, in fact, Jesus never wanted you to just believe in something external, distant, or unattainable? What if his true teachings had been deeply misinterpreted and carry a forgotten key to transform your reality now, from the inside out? Sounds bold? Perhaps even heretical for some. But what if that's exactly what you've always needed to hear? Today, you will see Jesus' words from a completely different angle. A vision that connects spirituality with expansion of consciousness. The Bible with manifestation science, faith with creative power. Because there is something in the Gospels that has gone unnoticed for centuries. Something that is not hidden, but that almost no one has dared to interpret from the perspective of true co-creation. A secret that can change the way you live, pray, desire, and attract everything you need. If you've ever felt like you're repeating the same cycles, who asks, and nothing happens, that life seems stuck, even with your faith intact. Maybe it's because you've learned to ask from a place of lack, not connection. Perhaps because no one taught you that Jesus was not just showing you how to reach the kingdom of heaven after death, but how to activate this kingdom here and now, in the invisible, inside. And that's why today, you're going to understand something profound. Jesus already taught, with simple words and coded parables, the fundamentals of what we now call the law of attraction. And no, this is not a modern theory dressed in pop spirituality. We are talking about principles that have always been there, at the heart of the Bible, but that have been diluted over the centuries. Have you ever wondered why he said, "Whatsoever ye ask in prayer, believe that ye have received it, and so it shall be done"? Why did Jesus talk so much about faith that can move mountains, and about the kingdom of God that is within us? Doesn't that sound like someone trying to teach us that there is a creative power dormant within us? And now I tease you, what if this faith is not just about believing, but about feeling? About living the certainty even before it manifests itself? About mentally and emotionally inhabiting the desired reality as if it were already yours? Because that's exactly what he did in miracles. He didn't doubt, he didn't hesitate, he didn't ask out of fear. He thanked him before, as if he already knew. That changes everything, doesn't it? But hold on, because the most powerful part comes at the end. And when it comes, you will realize that the key to manifesting that which seems impossible was never in the external world, but in the temple you carry within you. Before we dive into that, if you feel that this content is expanding your way of seeing spirituality, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving your like. This helps this type of reflection reach more people like you, people who are tired of superficial answers and wants to touch the sacred in a real way. Now, take a deep breath. And he opens his heart, because we are about to cross the veil of the obvious. And when you see what has always been in front of your eyes, nothing will ever be the same again. Perhaps you have learned that to pray is to ask, but what Jesus did was much more than that. He accessed it. He vibrated at the frequency of what he wanted to manifest. Before a blind man, he said, "Your faith has healed you." How so? Man's faith? So it was not Jesus who healed? Yes and no. Because what he did was to activate within the other his own ability to heal himself. He did not place himself as an isolated channel of divine power. He said, "I and the Father are one." And he also said, "You will do even greater works than mine." This phrase comes as a shock to anyone who believes that Jesus was unreachable. But what he was trying to show us is that we are made of the same essence, and that when we access this awareness, we are able to co-create miracles. But this requires a reconnection, an internal reprogramming. Because if you keep praying the same way, feeling small, afraid, doubting, waiting for something to come from outside, you are disconnected from source. Jesus said, "If you have faith like a mustard seed," and look, the mustard seed is tiny. What he was saying is that it's not about size, but about the quality of faith. A living, present faith that does not waver. A faith that does not wait to believe, but believes before seeing. that anticipates reality. Exactly as the law of attraction teaches, feel as if it were already real, vibrate at the frequency of desire, and then it manifests. Do you notice? The Bible has never been just a rule book. It is a vibrational map, a manual of manifestation, encoded in spiritual language, ready to be deciphered by those who are awake. But most don't understand why they learn to live from the outside in. He saw God as something separate. He saw the miracle as an exception. He saw heaven as a destination after death, and not as a state of consciousness accessible now. Now, if all this is making sense to you, if you feel that something is awakening inside, then I need to show you something that can expand your perception even more. Click on the link that is in the first pinned comment. It is a content that was made for you who are ready to change your frequency and activate the manifestation in a real and practical way. The kind of guidance I wish they had given me back then when I still thought that faith was just waiting patiently. But what Jesus taught is the opposite. He didn't expect. He co-created. He did not say one day it will be, but it already is. And that's what we're going to continue talking about in the next few minutes. The turning point is very close. Stay until the end. Because the latest revelation, it is the most powerful of all. And if you think about it, everything Jesus did, every teaching, every miracle, every word spoken, it was charged with intention, with purpose, with vibration. Nothing was by chance. He did not speak at random. He did not heal at random. He knew exactly what he was doing, and most importantly, he knew exactly how reality responded to him. This is the difference between those who desire and those who manifest. Jesus understood a truth that still escapes us today. The external world is not a cause, it is an effect. It all starts in the invisible. It all starts with frequency. You manifest what you are, not what you just desire. And this is a watershed for those who live on promises that are never fulfilled. Most people pray, ask, seek. But scarcity, fear, doubt continue to vibrate. They say, I believe, but deep down they expect the worst. And Jesus knew it. That's why he talked so much about true faith. He said that anyone who doubted even a little would not receive. Not because God was punishing, but because it is a matter of vibrational alignment. You don't attract what is outside of your frequency. He said, out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. In other words, there is no point in verbalizing faith with beautiful words if the heart is loaded with fear. The universe, or the kingdom, responds to what you feel, not what you just say. When you understand this, you realize that the prayer Jesus taught, the famous Our Father, is actually a complete technique of manifestation. Yes. See? He begins with gratitude, with alignment to the divine, recognizing the Father in all of us. He invokes the kingdom on earth, that is, he asks that the vibration of heaven, of the invisible, materialize here and now. He speaks of daily bread, but also of forgiveness because he knows that guilt and hurt block the energy of manifestation, and he closes by acknowledging the power and glory that already exists. This is absolutely profound. Jesus was not teaching how to pray out of desperation. He was teaching how to vibrate in harmony with the abundance of the universe, to attract, through attunement, what is already ours by spiritual heritage. And now let's go deeper. There is a very symbolic moment when he resurrects Lazarus, 4 days dead, the whole village crying, all believing that it was too late. But Jesus stands before the grave, raises his eyes upwards and thanks you. He thanks him before seeing the miracle, before any sign. This is the essence of conscious manifestation, feeling gratitude as if it had already happened. Because in the invisible world, it has already happened. All that remains is to align your energy with this reality. That moment alone teaches more about the law of attraction than hundreds of modern books. Because it's not about forcing anything, it's about getting into a state of unshakable conviction, of faith incarnate, of anticipatory gratitude. Jesus never doubted. And perhaps this is the greatest teaching that he left, but that has not yet been really understood. Because we were taught faith as hope. But Jesus lived faith as certainty. And this difference changes everything. Now I want you to reflect on one of the most powerful phrases in all of the Bible. Let it be done according to your faith. He didn't say, be done according to what you deserve, nor according to what you suffered, not even according to what you ordered, but according to their faith. This means that you are the measure of what you manifest, that what you live outside is a mirror of what you hold inside, and that hurts, because it forces us to look inside and take responsibility, but it also liberates, because it shows that we are not victims, we are co-creators. Jesus was trying to show us that faith is the vibrational password of the miracle, and that the miracle is not a divine whim, it is a natural consequence of a state of consciousness aligned with love, with certainty, with absolute trust in the invisible. How many times have you doubted in the middle of the journey? How many times did you ask but then found yourself complaining? How many times did you say a prayer and minutes later you said, "Oh, I knew it wasn't going to work"? That's where the blockade is. Not in desire, not in God, but in the broken frequency between what you want and what you vibrate. That is why Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all things will be added to you." He was not talking about a physical place. He spoke of an internal state. When you access that realm within yourself, when you step into that connection, everything starts to align by resonance. It is like a magnetic field that activates and begins to pull into your life exactly what is vibrating in you. It's not magic, it is consciousness. Now you may be wondering, but how do I change my vibration? How do I get out of scarcity and into abundance? And this is where practice comes in. You need first of all to silence the noise of doubt. Start the day in connection, to be grateful for what has not yet come, but already vibrates within you as if it were on its way. You need to visualize yourself living what you want, but not as a distant dream, but as an inevitable reality. This exercise, when done truthfully, begins to reprogram your deepest beliefs. It begins to change your energy field, and the universe responds. It doesn't matter how difficult your current reality seems. Jesus healed lepers, blind people, paralytics. He never said, "This case is harder." Because for those who live in this frequency of certainty, there is no such thing as impossible. And when he said all things are possible to him who believes, he was being literal. The everything is really everything, as long as you really believe. But believing is not just thinking positive. To believe is to live as someone who already knows. It is to act as someone who has already received it. It's leaving aside the old, "What if it doesn't work out?" and replacing it with, "It's just a matter of time." And if you feel like you need a clearer, more practical, deeper direction to get into that state, remember to access the link in the first pinned comment. There is a material there that can transform your way of manifesting and living. Jesus didn't just come to save us. He came to remind us of who we are. And the greatest salvation is conscience. Because when you awaken to your power to co-create with the divine, you come out of fear. You come out of despair. You get out of scarcity. And he starts to live in harmony with the source. That was the true good news. And now that you've started to see it with different eyes, maybe everything starts to make more sense. Maybe those phrases you've heard all your life now resonate differently, as if they were finally in the right place inside you. And that's where the change begins. It had not been, but inside. And remember, the most powerful revelation is yet to come, and it's closer than you think. Now let's go to the end, because it is in the last stretch that everything falls into place, and transformation happens. Now that we've come this far, it's time to join the dots. Because maybe throughout this whole journey, something inside of you has started to move. An old memory, a silent recognition, something saying, "That makes sense. This has always been here, but now I see it." And that's exactly what happens when the truth touches the soul. It's nothing new. It's a memory. The idea that Jesus already taught the law of attraction is not a modern reinvention of spirituality. It is the rescue of a forgotten understanding, a vision that transcends Dogmas that crosses the centuries and reaches you now. Hooray. Throbbing. Full of potential. Jesus was not just a moral teacher. He was a codifier of realities. A revealer of paths. An activator of consciences. When he said that the kingdom is within you, he was pointing directly to this creative power that dwells within you. That same power which, when recognized and awakened, transforms thoughts into matter, faith into fact, and intention into manifestation. Do you understand now why he never pleaded with heaven? Because he knew that the Father dwelt in him. Just as it dwells in you, he said, "You are God's." And what do you think that means? That we are made of the same divine substance, that we have been molded in the image of the Creator, and therefore have the ability to create. Not as a distant divine privilege, but as an innate spiritual heritage. This is the call that Jesus made, an invitation to awaken, to get out of the passive state of blind faith and into the living consciousness of co-creation. But the world has taught us the opposite. He told us we were weak, that we should fear, that asking was a sign of humility, and that desiring was selfish. How many times have you felt guilty for wanting something better? How many times have you annulled yourself thinking that this was spirituality? But Jesus never annulled anyone. He restored. He said, "Arise." He said, "Go. Your faith has made you whole." He empowered. And now you need to decide. You will continue to believe that your reality depends on chance, on the government, on luck, on the other? Or will you finally assume that everything starts from within? This awareness changes everything. Because when you take on your role as a co-creator, you start to choose your words more carefully, your thoughts with more intention, your emotions with more presence. You stop reacting to life and start shaping it. But it takes practice. It is not automatic, because for years, maybe a lifetime, you've been trained to limit yourself, to expect the worst, to repeat patterns. And this does not change overnight, but it changes. It starts with a small movement, with a prayer done differently, with a moment of gratitude before bed, with the decision to imagine the best and sustain that state, even when the outside world doesn't yet reflect that. Remember what we said about Jesus giving thanks before the miracle happened? That's the code. Anticipated gratitude is faith in action. And when you vibrate that, the universe responds. Now I want to take you to the most symbolic moment of all, the crucifixion. Many see there only pain, suffering, defeat. But what if I told you that there is also the greatest example of conscious manifestation, because in the midst of pain, injustice, abandonment, Jesus delivered. But he did not give up like someone who loses. He gave himself as one who fully trusts. "Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit." This is not weakness. This is surrender to the divine flow. And do you know what happens right after? Resurrection, expansion, elevation of consciousness. This is the cycle of manifestation, intention, surrender, transformation. You plant desire, vibrate confidence, let go, and receives. But many are caught between the request and the miracle, because they can't let go. They can't trust. They are always waiting for an external sign to finally believe. But the signal comes after the vibration, not before. Jesus showed us this all along, and we keep asking for proof when we should be offering conviction. And that is why this journey that you live now, at this very moment, can be the turning point of your life. Not because of a video, but because, if you have come this far, something inside you already knows that there is no way to go back to the previous state. His consciousness expanded, and when it expands, it doesn't go back to the size it was before. You can even try to forget, get distracted, pretend you don't understand. But it can't. Because the truth, when it touches you, transforms you. And it is with this awareness that you can start living in another way, to manifest with intention, to pray with presence, to desire with purity, trust strongly. It doesn't matter where you are right now, nor what I have experienced so far. Jesus healed, transformed, restored, and raised up people whom the world had already abandoned. Because to him what matters is not what you have done, but what you are. And what you are, he is the Son of the Source, co-author of reality, bearer of the divine spark, and that's why from now on, your life can be a living extension of the kingdom, a fertile field for miracles, an expression of the creative love that dwells in you. Just believe, not as someone who waits, but as someone who already knows. And if you've made it this far, then know you're already vibrating differently. You're already accessing something new, and what lies ahead is bigger than you think. Now, take a deep breath and allow this energy to accompany you in the coming days. Let it settle in your heart. May it guide your thoughts, your words, your actions. Because everything begins in the invisible and manifests at the right time, in the right place, in the right way. Jesus didn't just talk about it, he lived it. And now, it's your turn. If this content touched something in you, leave your like and subscribe to the channel. This helps us to continue spreading messages that uplift, awaken, and transform. Your journey of conscious manifestation does not end here. She is just getting started.